I was considering how we're going to publish this episode in the first week of February, I was looking at several resources to prepare, to share some resources for Black History Month. And I was looking at the ASALH, the Association for the Study of African American Life and History, which was established in 1915 as an extension of the founding of Black History Month, which if I'm being completely honest, I probably had used their resources before and did not remember that. But they are currently offering a virtual Black History Month festival, highlighting the theme of African Americans and the arts. Some of the incredible virtual exhibits include the Black presence in sci-fi, anime, and comics, and the impact of the arts in the Gullah Geechee community. So if, there is literally something for everyone. It's a lot. It's really
They're really running the
and,
gamut. This is cool.
Yeah, I was really interested in that. And of course, showing perspectives that maybe are often underrepresented, especially in the arts community. So looking through these offerings was inspiring to me to look deeper into some of the local resources that exist where I live. If you don't know, the Gullah Geechee community is actually a community within South Carolina, which has a very rich tradition. And that's kind of, if you could be in my brain, it would make sense that looking at something in South Carolina would make me think what's going on in South Florida. But, the connection was there. And I don't know, I'm going to throw a little bit of I don't know if this is a millennial reference or not, but I don't know if you remember, there was like a Nick Jr. TV show when I was a kid called Gullah Gullah Island. I don't know if you remember that.
Of course I remember Gullah Gullah Island.
I remember Gullah Gullah Island, watching that as a kid and not really understanding that was not just a family and an island. I thought it was just some place. I didn't really think about it at the time as it being a really rich African-American cultural touchstone in our country. But the culture of the Gullah Geechee community and all of this is really its own thing and something that is really impactful to us as Americans. And, I'll be honest, my own ignorance of that was that I had a connection to it. It was something I had seen and experienced, but not really recognized as something that had widespread cultural impact that is very much a part of African-American community and African-American, therefore American history. So that kind of was my thread that connected. What else am I a part of or seeing or witnessing that I don't even recognize is a critical part of Black history? So that's where it was. So I would encourage you all to do some Googling or some chat GPTing to see what resources exist in your own area or what components of Black history are existing in your space that maybe you might pass all the time and not be aware of. For example, looking up in South Florida, there's a tremendous resource, a tremendous wealth of resources, I should say, for Black history here in South Florida. Sharing important locations that are around us, such as historic Virginia Key Beach Park, which is here in Miami, was designated as a beach for African Americans during the segregation era. The contributions of Mary McLeod Bethune in Daytona Beach. There is the African American Museum of the Arts in DeLand and the Harry T. and Harriet V. Moore Memorial Park and Museum in Mims, which I did have to look up, is in Brevard County. Some of these locations might be places that you and your students see on a regular basis or drive by on a trip and may not realize the cultural impact that exists there. Maybe use this as an opportunity to invite African-American professionals, community leaders, or historians to share their experiences and knowledge with your students. These guest speakers can offer personal insights into their achievements and challenges faced in our own communities. And while there are endless websites and listicles dedicated to celebrating Black History Month itself, I think we need to remember that as educators, we have a responsibility to ensuring that our students are seeing themselves and their history in our curriculum year-round. So dedicating some time to reviewing our curriculum and asking, how often are our students exposed to authentic experiences that celebrate African-American contributions in what we teach every day? And I'm going to say, I'll be honest, in our own failings, as an ELA teacher, I can tell you that it's way too easy to stick to what's decided at the beginning of the year and never think twice about it, because there's just so much thought and energy and effort that goes into preparing these resources. And I can also tell you, if we're being completely honest, February doesn't always feel like a good time to reflect, because so many of us are just like on that bullet train towards testing and the end of the year. But maybe we take a moment and we, at the very least, put a day on our calendar. We can talk about maybe June or July with links from this episode, or bookmark this episode to listen to again when we're in that, headspace, to really take the time to not just reflect on what we want to do for Black History Month, but how can we include these authentic experiences all year long?
I love so much of what you brought there. The among the many things that you said that made me smile, and great advice all around, was the thing that really spoke to me was the idea of kind of localizing
Yeah.
Black History Month on your school campus, right? As you noted in your discussion there, a lot of what we are inclined to teach when Black History Month rolls around is kind of the standardized curriculum that is brought to us, often that has a national flair to it, talking about some of the major figures in Black history and in the civil rights movement. But what I think your example teaches us as well, is there's something to be said for looking for the Black history in your own community. Everywhere in the United States is going to have some significant piece of Black history that you can share with your students to localize this phenomenon, to show them that Black history is not just something that happens far away in Washington, D.C. or in Selma, Alabama, but there's significant Black history right in everyone's backyard, and it's worth teaching. And the piece you also brought in about how about bringing in prominent Black professionals in your community to speak to the kids, particularly so that students of color can see themselves in the professionals in their own community. That seems like a really valuable tool.
And I think because we talk about Black History Month, we think of it as the past, and let's focus on the past. But I think that looking at the cultural and artistic achievements that are happening right now, I was really inspired on the website, the ASALH festival, that they highlighted not just the past, but the future, right? The present and the future, and looking at anime and sci-fi and comics. Like, I was also thinking about how we as educators can take what our students are interested in and challenge them to look for prominent Black leaders in those areas, right? So thinking back to when, I was a kid and I really liked Gullah Gullah Island or something silly, and not just realizing, hey, do you guys know that this is not just a TV show? It's not just a cute show, but this is a whole community. This is a real island, and that there are people there and what this does. So just trying to imagine how we can take what our students are already interested in and help them connect those threads, I think is really helpful.
And by the way, I was today years old when I just found out that Gullah Gullah Island was based on, a real place in a real community. So
Yep.
thank you for that.
I don't think the puppets are really there, but
Yeah.
the people are.
Binya Binya wasn't real, is what you're telling me?
Well, I mean, maybe once upon a
Maybe?
time. I don't know. It's a lot to unpack there. That's a whole other episode.